See, I wasn't sure if you were pressing record on one.
Oh, we're not having that conversation. Is it on one or after one? I don't know.
The temptation, I thought, to just shout something really inappropriate.
Is it on one, after one, or is it boobs? We'll never know.
Sound check, penis.
Yeah, we're recording.
Wank.
And that's how our guest is introducing himself.
Hello, welcome back to Path Publication. I sound very husky and very sexy right now because I'm coming out of a cold.
So Finn's sick, I'm messing it up. Zach, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
We're giving a very professional order, aren't we?
Yeah.
No further questions, Your Honour. Yeah, you may have heard him in the background there. We've got a guest star this episode. One Zach. Do you want me to call you Zach, or do you want to call you by my full name?
You just call me Zach.
Okay. I've got Zach on the podcast this time. He is a content creator who currently owns 2 YouTube channels. SpectrumZ, where he makes retro gaming content and showcases strange and underappreciated video games in the Have You Heard series, and chronicles video game histories in the 1001 Games to Play Before You Die series. RP Genesis is his second channel, and it's a tutorial series on many RPG systems, drawing upon his real-life experiences as a DM. Good evening, Zach.
Good evening.
I was struggling to figure out what the next bit would be after that. I wanted to say something, Zach. I was like, what time of day is it? My brain just panicked. I was like, evening, go with that. Welcome to Path Publication. As you can tell, we are very professional.
Yeah, we've got it all in hand. We're all organised. We've got everything all set up, ready to go for when you came on the call.
40 minutes later.
We did not start half an hour late.
I did not have the oven breakdown on me, which is why I'm late, because dinner was delayed.
I didn't have my partner walk in on us. Wait, that sounded terrible. Cut that bit.
Yeah.
No, we're keeping it in. But yeah, so this episode, what are we talking about, Andy?
Mental health and writing.
Okay, what does that mean to you?
I think writing's a really big part of my mental health. The journey that I've been on with it, it's always been there in the background for me. It's been, like a comfort zone for me. If there's something going wrong, I write it out. I get used to it in writing and process some feelings that way. But also, there's a lot of escapism for me with writing. Like, I can take on so many lives. I can process so many different traumas just through my writing. So it's quite a broad scope with my mental health and writing.
How about you, Zach?
It means a lot of different things to me. I can use it as a source of inspiration. I can use it as a way to vent like Andy does. I can potentially use it as a way to educate people about certain issues that may or may not be clear or obvious to those who aren't familiar with it outside of bare basics on TV and video games and things like that. Mental health has been a huge part of my life for a long time, and it's both a gift and a curse. But I have found that writing and drawing and doing TTRPGs has been a good way to help cope with it.
Yeah, it's been I'd say it's kind of like it's a happy distraction sometimes, and it also feeds, in my own personal opinion, it feeds a lot of the themes in my writing as well. Characters that are suffering with, for instance, in a lot of my writing, it's more like support networks that are either not as strong as the character believes they are, or they're breaking apart, and reactions to that sort of thing. And also kind of like characters that are like done with it, they don't care anymore, they feel like they're very soulless for that, but actually they actually think and feel a lot, and they're wrapped up in their own kind of like anxieties that they don't want to express that kind of thing.
How do you find it with the RPG side then? Are you taking on different characters as like an escapist kind of fantasy kind of way, or is it you're drawing on your own experiences and bringing a real life experience into your characters to make them deeper and more layered?
I take inspiration from a number of different sources, really. Most of it, the time, it is my own experiences, but other times it's based on experiences of people I've known, experiences I've been a part of, or just ones that I have a little bit of an idea about. The reason mainly is because a lot of people think mental health is kind of a hush hush, we don't talk about this kind of thing.
Brush
so
it off the
in
rug.
my way, because you might upset somebody, or we don't talk about this thing because if you ignore it, it goes away, kind of thing. And those are some very unhelpful attitudes to have. So with some of my characters who do have some form of mental disability, whichever form it takes, I make it an absolute point that they're not a stereotype, or they're not someone who's massively exaggerated for the sake of making a point and show, oh, look how inclusive I am, kind of thing. I want them to be fair and as accurate as possible so that people don't get offended by these characters, but also people can possibly relate to these characters in a way.
Absolutely. That's the thing, is like if you do it the correct way, it's perfect, it's inclusive, people can relate to it. But if you overdo it, it can end up becoming a little bit like virtual signaling. It's like, oh, we've got the character that's suffering with this condition, rather than actually having a 3-dimensional thing along with it.
Not only that, but if all you're doing is just exacerbating and making different tropes of the mental health, like exaggerating them even greater, you're actually diminishing the experience that people actually have.
Yeah.
It's a lot more nuanced and real, and it's in smaller increments in real life.
It feels a bit kind of surface level, rather than coming from an actual personal kind of background. I think it doesn't feel like a person saying this, it feels like you read it out of a textbook kind of thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to take the DSM-5 and just whack it onto a wood elf.
I mean, that could be a good weapon, actually. It's quite heavy, those books.
You mentioned that you like to bring certain topics out in your writing. What sort of mental health topics do you write with? Hang on, can I reword that? When you mentioned that you use writing and mental health to bring awareness to certain topics, what sort of aspects of mental health do you find yourself writing about most?
So most of the time I go with the own issues that I've got. So being on the spectrum, anxiety, depression, things like that. But I will also use experiences from other people, because I think a lot of people, when they see mental health being portrayed in media, or even when someone runs a TTRPG, is that, to use the analogy you did before, Finn, of like surface level stuff, I think a lot of people who don't know about this stuff, they will just go to the wiki, look at the first paragraph about what is depression, and then that's what they stick with.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for me, it's a case of people will suffer with these things. They take different forms and they present different problems. But if you only look at the first paragraph of a wiki page, you think everyone who has X acts like this.
Yeah, kind of very dismissive and quite reductive, because they'll just have a surface level of what a particular disorder is, and they'll just think that everybody is exactly the same, rather than having nuances and having different things that you wouldn't necessarily have thought of. Somebody, for instance, has depression, would act like or would do a lot.
Yeah. So there were two characters I came up with. These are NPCs in one of the campaigns I was writing. Both of them suffer from depression quite badly, but I wanted to make it clear to the players that these two particular characters have got different attitudes and responses to certain behaviors because of their depression. For example, there's one character who's so far gone into his depression that he needs extreme help, and trying to show the players through the options they've got is, he's an extreme case. He doesn't mean to be like this, but he just needs someone to talk to. And you can supply that by taking him to like the wizard or whoever he needs to go and talk to, the person who he trusts most, things like that. Whereas the other depressed person might be, I want to help you, but I'm not confident in my ability. So with them, it's just, they want to do it. You just need to give them a hand and encourage them to take tiptoe steps. And then eventually they will start getting better and better. They won't be 100% recovered, because the burden with mental health is you don't fully recover. You just learn to live with it better.
You learn to cope with it, learn to bring other strategies in to kind of mitigate it.
Yeah. So it's a very difficult subject to handle, but I feel like I do it well with my players, because I have had a few of them who do suffer with similar problems have come up to me going, I really appreciate what you're doing, and trying to just show other people that it's not all the same and everyone acts differently, and how it's good to be open about these issues and talking about them.
It's like a different form of therapy that people aren't aware. Like, you know, whenever people think about therapy, they think about, okay, you got to journal things out, or you go sit in a stuffy room, or you're laying down on the couch and twiddling your thumbs and regressing as a child. You know, there's that pre-existing idea of therapy, whereas creative outlets like how you're doing it with the RPG, how we do it with the writing, they can be quite therapeutic in their own process. I think it's a really, really important thing in life that we kind of need to draw attention to this, that, you know, creative arts are therapy in themselves.
Yes,
We
get rid of
normalise
the
it.
stigma.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels a little bit like role play is kind of an easy way of reenacting, let's say, that kind of difficult situation, but have that kind of distance of like, this is the character that's going through this, rather than this is Sally going through this.
I would never use a player's real traumatic experience
Of course.
unless they came up to me and go, look, I want something like this because it's based on my experience. Can you help me work this into the story? Like, yeah, I can do that. No problem. So long as they give consent, that's the big tick for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing, though.
It's that thing as like a trigger warning before a TV show, that sort of thing. But if you're in like a role-playing setting, like you're playing D&D, you're playing Cthulhu, that sort of thing, if you go into it telling your players, if you're the DM, this campaign will contain themes of mental health, depression, anxiety. Are you okay with this? And then the players can be like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Or can we tweak this a little bit? It's a collaborative thing, isn't it?
Yes. Everyone has a voice at the table.
Yeah, I agree with that.
How has your mental health been? And feel free to like cut this out, but how has your mental health been affected by you being the DM, the GM for these kind of games? Have you found that you're exploring more about your own processes and your own issues behind the scenes and reacting more positively to things?
So, without going into too much of a sob story about my mental health issues, I've got some really bad ones, and they've been untreated for a very long time, to the point where even if I do get professional help, like top of the line professional help, I'm still going to be pretty bad even if I do improve a bit. But in terms of TTRPG, this has been one of the more healthy coping mechanisms that I've taken to. Years ago, we're talking about high school.
High school can be terrible, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's where all these problems manifest, really. I had such terrible social anxiety that I would never speak. I wouldn't speak unless I was spoken to, and even then, the most you get out of me was a head shake or a head nod. And then when I got into college, I met some friends who were more understanding about mental health issues, and they introduced me to, I don't know which edition it was at the time, but they introduced me to D&D. And I kept playing with them regularly, and then we stopped for a short while because life gets in the way. Then a few years later, I picked it back up again. And it was a shop say, oh, we run D&D, why don't you come down and play with us? And I wanted to do it, but I was terrified of going in and saying something. But because of the courage I built up through sort of meeting people at a table who are all interested in the same nerdy things that I like, that social anxiety was starting to ease enough so I could go to a shop. And now I can stand in front of a table of 8 complete strangers and tell them this fantastic story. I'll still be scared as fuck leading up to it. But once I'm into it, it goes so smoothly. And all that anxiety just disappears. Afterwards, it all comes back and I'm like, oh, I hope I did a good job. I hope everyone enjoyed it. But during it, it's like you'd never know that I have social anxiety.
I definitely attest to this as well with the D&D games that I have DM'd as well. When you initially have the idea, it's like, oh my god, this will be amazing. People really, really have fun with this. And then when it comes to the actual doing of it, you're like, oh my god, I need to make sure everybody's happy. I need to make sure that people are interested. They're not zoning out on their phones. I need to make sure that my story is actually interesting. And you basically sit there going like, internally you're screaming, but externally everyone's having a good time.
It does feel like that.
That's if people are following the plot and not going off on a tangent that you haven't prepared.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I've never actually DM'd or GM'd or really played a TTRPG.
This is your invitation now.
Maybe we should do a special podcast episode where I run you through a short one-shot together.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
I will totally freeze up. I was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Neither does anyone else.
First time I played D&D, I had no idea what was going on for like a good hour, and then started to kind of bleed in to what I needed to do and what were my responsibilities in that group, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Is it kind of like having 2 different personas when it comes to this then? So you've kind of got like your EDM, GM kind of persona and your aura that you can adopt in that sense. And then you got the gamer side of it where you're the character, you're the participant.
Yeah, pretty much. It is odd getting into the headspaces of all these different characters I have to play. It can be upwards about maybe 25 characters I have to swap between in one session.
Oh my god.
But that's only me. That's because of how in-depth I make my worlds and stuff.
I'm having flashbacks to when I did a DM and I had a big like encounter thing set up, so multiple enemies that people had to try and either stealth by or kill, that sort of thing. And I had I think it was Gnome 19 of 25, and I was going, there's too many NPCs. Nobody cares that NPC 19 is fighting NPC 25. Just get to the point.
It's also a good way to vent as well when I'm playing some of these characters. It's Zach. Zach wants people to have a good time. Zach wants to entertain people. Zach is worried that he's not entertaining people, but he wants everyone to have a good time, so he's doing this. But if Zach is feeling a little bit more confident that day, then characters like Roddy come out, and Roddy's a cocky little halfling that likes to cause trouble. And then if Zach feels like winding up his players a bit, then old Jackie Jill comes out, and Jackie Jill likes to mess with the players by making them take bribes, you know what I mean? And then if Zach is in a bit of a bad mood, then fucking Bruno comes out, and Bruno is a really bad-tempered git that likes to jump into traffic for fun when things are getting too stressful. Sorry, but the players have no idea that I'm doing this sort of thing because they're just seeing all these characters, and some of these characters they hate in the right way because they're the villains or they're the ones that they want to hate, and some of these characters they absolutely love and they like seeing them whenever I do the voice for them, which makes me feel nice as a DM, but also it's just a sneaky way of me getting frustration out without being too overbearing.
It's like punishing your players but not making it in a mean way. It's more like you messed up, I'm gonna make you pay for it now.
Yeah.
So do you find that when you're embodying all these different characters that have different traits to them, has it ever bled into your life? So you've taken, okay, I'm in this situation right now, I'm going to inhibit the spirit of this particular character to get through this situation in my real life.
It's rare, but sometimes I have inhabited the personality of the character to get into or out of certain situations.
Like a beneficial thing, or has it been detrimental to you?
Every time I've done it, it's been beneficial. And although I've said that I can stand in front of a table of 8 complete strangers and run a game for them, if I still have to go into the shop and go up to someone and say, I can't find this, that'll still terrify the hell out of me. There was one character, I can't remember the joke, but there was one character who made a joke about not being able to find something. So I used that joke to approach this person, and they thought it was hilarious and helped me, and then we just went our separate ways after she helped me. But I was like, that was much easier because of that one joke that one character made that one time that I can't remember. And
but it helped you out in the meantime, which is the main thing. I've got a question for you, Zach. Are there any characters or storylines in the world, either via RPGs or via TV, film, that sort of thing, that you can relate to in relation to your own mental health journey?
Okay. Off the top of my head, there are 2 I can think of. And one's a bit sad and one's a little happy. Which one would you want to hear first?
Oh, make me sad.
So, I take it you're both familiar with the show Scrubs?
Yes.
I've never really watched it.
Andy, get out.
Okay. For the sake of adding some context to this, and for the sake of Andy, I would guess, there's a character in it called Dr. Cox, and he's this bad-tempered doctor who's getting to the point where he's just done with being a doctor. Now, I have to also prefix that I didn't watch the entire episode because it was a friend's house and then we went out halfway through it. But a friend of Dr. Cox comes along and he's a much more successful doctor, operates on government officials kind of doctor. And he brings his newborn son with him. Well, not his newborn, but his several-month son with him. And Dr. Cox noticed that the son is acting a bit odd. So his friend goes to him, will you look after my son for a bit? And he goes, yeah, I will. During that time, he decides to do an assessment on him. And during the assessment, he's noticing more things and he's starting to look and act more worried about the kid. When he gives the kid back, he goes up to his wife and he looks really worried and tells her the results. And she goes, what are you saying? And he goes, his son is showing early signs of autism. And because of the music sting and the way the characters acted, they made autism sound like it was this terrible thing. Like it was something that nobody wants. And at that time, I hadn't been diagnosed with it, but I was noticing similar things I could relate to in the results. And worrying that, oh God, I hope I don't have that. And then a few years later, when I was diagnosed with it, it hit harder, remembering that episode that, oh God, I'm a freak and I hurt people because of that.
Obviously, they probably played it up for drama, but if someone is like yourself, thinking they might be suffering from autism at that time, and they see that representation on TV, they're not going to get the best kind of feedback from it, are they?
Yeah, I know better now. So I mean, in a way, I guess I'm also thankful for seeing that as well, because I've been on the receiving end of it being done negatively. So now I know, all right, I know how not to do it. So now I'm going to do it correctly.
Yeah.
The happy one is actually an entire film called. Now you may not have seen this one because it's an animation one. Have you ever heard of the film Mary and Max?
No.
Okay, so short synopsis. There's this little girl who lives in Australia. She's about 8 years old, and she lives with this family who the mom is a drunk and is always absent in one way, and the dad is always working and absent in another way. So she picks a name randomly out the yellow pages and starts a pen pal. And it's this, at the time, I think at the start of the film, is this late 30-year-old man who lives in New York, and he's called Max. And she doesn't let on that she's a kid, but he receives this letter in the post, and he has an anxiety attack. And as he starts writing back to her, he's like, oh, well, I'm what the doctor calls an Aspie, and it means that I do this, and I act this way, and things like that, blah, blah, blah. But I like being this way. It makes me unique, and things like that. And I thought that was nice, because even at that point, I still hadn't been diagnosed with it, but I could relate to Max in a lot of ways. And that one was a lot more positive than the Scrubs one, obviously. And after a while, when I was upset with the Scrubs one, I remember the Mary and Max one, and it's like, oh, well, Max has kind of taught me that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing that I'm this way. Max can find a way to love himself, and he understands that he's got problems, but he's working on them, so maybe it's not as bad as I think it is. And then the growth just carried on from there. So although I had the bad one from Scrubs first, Mary and Max was the positive one, which helped me grow more confident in my disability, as it were.
I'm glad that you managed to find that great positive example as well. Would you say Aspie is correct or Asperger's is correct?
It will vary from person. He says Aspie just because it's shorter than saying Asperger's. But if someone is autistic, it doesn't necessarily mean they have Asperger's, which is what I've got. They're
separate things on the same spectrum. Right?
Yeah, the way I say is they're separate branches on the same tree.
There we go. That's what I wanted to say.
Quite a nice image, that.
Yeah, I quite like that. You've humbled both of us with that. Thank you.
It's kind of making me sad that you had that negative experience, though, and it's making me want to be more aware of these things when I'm going to be doing my own writing, because I don't want to put anyone through that kind of that feeling of being isolated, or feeling like what they're going through is a negative thing, even if they are experiencing negative things. I don't want to exacerbate that feeling for them. Yeah, I feel like we're going to have quite a lot of responsibility there.
Yeah, as long as you don't do what Sia did, you're fine.
Oh no, we wouldn't do that. Sia made a movie about somebody who suffered with autism, but all of the representation of that particular autistic person was completely out of date and destructive. It wasn't helpful in any way, was it?
Yeah, the advice was harmful as to how to treat someone if they're having a meltdown. The actress they got to play Music, who was the character who had autism, didn't have autism, although the actress said she didn't feel right doing this. Sia pushed her into it. And she portrayed her, probably under Sia's direction, as if she's got bad brain damage rather than actual autism.
Oh dear.
Yeah. She also worked with a finger quote charity called Autism Speaks, who treat autism like it's a disease rather than a mental disability. So yeah, she fucked up in every way possible doing that film.
It was literally whatever you can mess up with on that particular theme. Sorry, I'm going to cough. It was wherever you could potentially fuck up making a film about autism. Not even autism, about a mental disability or a mental disorder. You messed up on every single point, every single step. And then had the nerve to release it in cinemas.
And I'm pretty confident Andie would never do something like that.
No, I'm very constantly aware of everyone else's experiences around me, to the point where I will put myself extremely just to make sure everyone else is comfortable. Something which I'm learning to, navigate. But
mentioned in the previous one, there is that kind of pressure growing up. There's you put everybody else's feelings above your own. You don't make a fuss. As long as everyone's happy, everything's fine. It's well, you are also a person. You also have feelings. You also have emotions that need to be expressed. And screw everybody else. Do what makes you feel happy. Don't put your own worth below somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easier said than done.
Of course.
No. Yeah, it is. But a lot of mental health is easier said than done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a struggle sometimes, and it's not a marathon or a sprint. It's a long winding road sometimes.
I think it takes a lot of mental strength to do the sort of content creation that you are doing, with the screenwriting that we're doing as well, because we're expressing ourselves, we're putting ourselves in very vulnerable places, and we're opening ourselves out to criticism, to public feedback, to, people just express everything on the internet now. Like, there's all sorts of trolling and shit and all sorts. And you've kind of got to develop a thick skin. So it takes a lot of courage but self-belief to do this. So you should applaud yourself for what you're doing in that sense. So.
I'm applauding Zach.
Thank you, Finn, for your pity applause. It's also another battle we have is sometimes just going to pick up the pen or going to press the first key on the page can be very difficult as well.
Have you got any kind of rituals or like ways to kind of get you on that page to write something?
For me, it's not always a problem. Sometimes I can just sit at the computer like, right, it's 10 o'clock, it's time to adult, and then down to 5, right, I'm done adulting now, I'm back to being immature 34-year-old me. Or whatever I want. But sometimes I do struggle, and sometimes maybe chatting with someone while I'm working is something that I need. Yeah, sometimes I message you, sometimes I message one of my players, whatever, to just get in the mood, lift the spirits up a bit. Sometimes I want to do it, but I really struggle for ages to even make a start, to which I go, well, why don't you just do a little bit today to say you've done something, and then just take the rest of the day to recover, and then you can carry on tomorrow. So you're not feeling guilty that you've done nothing, but you are also looking after yourself as well.
I treat it like when you're in university and you've got a big essay to do. You write the title, and you disappear for 2 weeks and you have fun. Then you come back and actually write another paragraph, and you disappear for another 2 weeks and you come back and write another paragraph, and it goes on and on and on and on. But like, not paragraphs, but in terms of writing, it would be like scenes or like chapters, that sort of thing. Campaigns. Yeah, give yourself rewards, give yourself breaks in the middle of it, so you're not just sat there the entire time like a robot.
I think you've also got to be mindful of when writing and the ritual of writing can actually have a negative effect or exacerbate any negative emotions that you're feeling. Have the courage to step away and go, actually, no, I'm doing myself a disservice here. I need to walk away right now.
Before I fall any deeper.
That's been a problem I've experienced a few times as well. It's another thing easier said than done is you are allowed to fall down. What's important is you get back up.
Yes.
Isn't it that Japanese saying, fall back 7 times, pick yourself up 8 times?
I like that.
Yeah, I've not heard of that one, but I agree with it. It's hard to do, but it is worth doing.
This is when Andy going to reveal that it's not actually a Japanese proverb and it's just made up by her just now.
No, I only make up statistics.
You know that 95% of the statistics Andy makes up are false.
Has it ever been over the course of your writing that you've come across some themes or inner issues that you've not quite dealt with or on a conscious level, and it's come out in your writing and you've gone, actually, I recognise that I'm going through something here?
Yes, and that's quite an interesting one to ask as well as answer, because sometimes these issues come up and I don't even think about it. And it isn't until they play out in the game like, oh God, I'm actually going through something similar here. Or maybe the actions of a player steer it that way. And then I can feel like I'm going through something similar. It happened with one player once who steered it in a way where he's from the Philippines. And because of the way things are over there, he got conscripted into the army. And he's got really bad PTSD from it. And he was playing this game with us. And because of the way he steered it, after the session, he sat down with me. He said, can I just vent to you? And I go, yeah. And he goes, first off, I want to say, I really am thankful for the way you reacted to the way my character acted in the game. I go, why? And he goes, well, I wanted to just try and vent out some trauma that I had because of an experience I had. And the way you reacted to it made me feel safe, like I could open up to you about it. So is it all right if we talk? And they're like, yeah, you can talk, say what you want. And we sat there for about 2 hours while he let everything out. And he felt a lot better and said, I'm looking forward to coming back to playing again.
That's really powerful.
But in other situations that I've been wanting to write down, but if I did, it could make a really depressing and dark story, which could upset players at the table. There's one RPG I've got on my shelf at the minute. It's called Cult. And in that one, it deals with really dark, serious topics. I've got it for the collection, and I would like to run it one day, but to run something like this that isn't going to upset somebody is going to take a lot of work and effort.
Well, you've got a lot of trust in the people you're playing with. It's going to be received well.
Yes, if I'm going to play it, I need to play it with people I know that I'm not writing this to freak them out. I'm writing it because the game is fucked up.
You got to make it a safe space for them.
Yes.
Without sanitizing the experience.
Yeah.
Tricky one.
And if I was to use some of the experiences I've gone through, it would really cause problems.
Would that be for yourself or for them?
For me, no. But it could hurt other people, and I really don't want to hurt other people, especially on a mental health level, because that's nowhere near as easy to recover from.
That's the old adage of like sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. They do. Words hurt more than anything you can physically get because they last.
Oh yeah, I'd much rather have been beat up at high school than had half the shit held at me like verbally that I did. Like that sticks. Bruises fade.
Words absolutely do hurt. Watch this. Glasses look stupid. There you go. See,
don't talk to me on my glasses ever again, Zach. These glasses were very cheap, actually.
You meant you nick them. There's an old woman wandering around blind now because of you. Full of shame.
It was Andy.
Hey, I'm not an old woman.
Oh, God. We're in our 30s. We're not old yet. Don't tell Ash that.
Finn forgot how old he was the other day. He went, as a 35-year-old man, no, wait, I'm 33.
I was talking about Ash, but then talking about me, and I got confused.
So on the flip side, let's make it a little bit more positive.
Yeah. Sorry.
What parts of the TTRPGs and maybe even your content on YouTube do you use it as like fantasy fulfillment? Like instead of it processing trauma and going through all your issues, do you find that you get the escapism, the fantasy? You can be like this amazing character that to deal with these things on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic escapism, like you both said. In TTRPGs, you can be whoever you want to be, so you can live out your fantasies whatever they may be. So you can be the Casanova you're not in real life, or you can be the edgelord you've always secretly dreamed of being.
Or you could be a 10-foot tall buff dude, which you'll never achieve a being.
Yeah. Or in Ash's case, you can be the boxer barbarian known as Snuffles.
We played a campaign with Zach where we were all playing as dogs, I think. And Ash played a version of Ghosts, basically. But he could only say the word Snuffles. That was his whole thing. He could only say Snuffles.
Well, Snuffles was his war cry.
Snuffles was his war cry.
His character name.
I seem to remember him jumping into a cave or something, starting Snuffles!
See, this is the thing I struggle with. Every time that I've tried to do a RPG game, I can't embody the person. I can do it in writing. I can edit. I can write. I can like be the person on paper. But if I'm sat in a room with a bunch of my friends and they're like, "Oh, go play as Tinkerbell," I'm like, "Who the fuck is Tinkerbell?"
Yeah.
If you don't mind me jumping in, Zach, that differs on which player you are, because some players are really good at like improvisation and kind of thinking on the fly and embodying their characters. Whereas I will tend to forget that I'm playing a character and just playing me. And the only thing that disappears from me is my name. As much as I'd like to be like Critical Role, where they can come up with a character name, personality, that sort of thing like that, I don't have that. Unless it's written down and I'm in my own world, I can't embody the character that way. I have to do it like on paper and with dice and stuff like that. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, because I have a few players say the same thing, especially people who are green as grass new. They go, "Oh, what should I do for my first character?" and stuff. My personal advice is your first character should be you. Your character has the same morals as you, the same ideology as you, and blah, blah, blah. Your second one, change it a bit. Maybe they're the polar opposite of you. Maybe they're different in a little bit of ways. Or if at that point you're feeling confident enough, just make one out from the blue. Just write down some ideas, roll a dice, and go, right, I am a man who hates sausage rolls but loves this. And I've got this really weird habit of doing X.
I think that part of why I can't do it, though, is my own processes in my mental health, because I'm quite reserved. Like, this stresses me out. Just meeting new people is really difficult, and doing something like this I'm really pushing my comfort zone doing this. So to sit in a TTRPG kind of situation where I'm trying to embody someone else when I'm not even comfortable with myself. It's really difficult.
Yeah, it's a struggle I have as well. I remember one line thinking to myself, which is, we're all adults who are at least 25, pretending to be something we're not in a one big adult game of pretend, doing silly voices and whatever else. So no one can say the other one's acting like an idiot. We're all being idiots. And that helped me.
Let's be silly together.
Yeah, let's be silly together.
It's quite good advice.
That brings me on to my next question, which was, have any quotes kind of stuck with you in terms to like motivate you when you're trying to write something and it's just not coming to you? Like any kind of quotes or inspirational things that you've heard that have helped you out? That was very badly worded, and I'm sorry.
Weirdly enough, there's only what. God, I'm going to sound so fucking egotistical saying this.
Go on.
Off the top
Shock
of my
the world.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any quotes that have inspired me for writing and creating stories and stuff. But there is one line I came up with while I was writing, which I use on myself to sometimes encourage me to start writing or drawing or whatever, because my writing and drawing, I do it to entertain others. And even if I've helped them forget their problems for even just 5 minutes, that's a win in my book. So the quote in question is, be it a matchstick or a flaming torch, even the smallest light can push away the darkness for a while.
Aww. Jinx.
I'm paraphrasing it now. I've got it somewhere in a document now. See if I can find it. But yeah, essentially it's something like...
I love the message behind that.
It's a lot shorter than that. It's just, even the smallest light pushes away the darkness.
Oh, that's lovely, though.
I like that. That's really sweet.
That's not egotistical. You got to show that one off everywhere, because that is lovely.
Like, no one should ever dim someone else's light. I definitely agree with that. That's
what writing has always been for me. It's just that little light staving away the darkness that I've got.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Have you got anything else on the agenda, Andy?
No, that's all the questions, actually.
Oh, wow. Went through it quicker than I expected to. That was really good.
It's about on par for us.
As a side note, though, it's also been great listening to your podcast as well, because the advice you've given in some of your videos has really helped develop some of these characters even further. So thank you both for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
We didn't pay him to say that, by the way. It's completely genuine.
I can't remember if it was your last episode, but I think, Andy, you mentioned the save the cat trope.
Yeah.
I implemented that in one of the characters I'm currently writing up that they're going to meet.
Oh, fab.
Yay! Andy's inspired someone else. Yay!
I was saying to Finn for so long, you've got to look into Save the Cat, see if it works for you. He's like, oh, what is it? What is it?
I think Andy got me the book for, I think, my birthday or Christmas, something like that.
Yeah, and it's gathering dust, isn't it?
And I haven't read it yet.
Using it as a doorstopper.
Not quite. It's on my bookcase somewhere. I've not had a chance to read it yet. But I will.
We're just all about like exploring different ways with writing and different, what works for one person won't work for another, but it's nice just to have the conversation around it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. I think we should probably wrap this up by shouting off, yeah.
Showing off.
Showing off Zach's channel. So if people want to follow you, want to check up with the content you're currently doing, Zach, where can they find you?
So if you're into gaming, be it retro or slightly more modern or indie, you're looking up for SpectrumZ on YouTube. But if you are interested in the TTRPG side of how to get started, how to create characters and things like that, you're looking for RP Genesis on YouTube as well. Each one also has a Twitter account, and eventually, by the time this video comes out, a Blue Sky account as well.
Ooh, I need to look into getting a Blue Sky one as well, actually.
I'll make sure all the links are in the show notes and in the comments.
I keep forgetting that Spotify actually put descriptions in now, because it didn't do it beforehand, but now it does.
I handle it, okay?
Andy is the socials queen.
We talked about this. I don't update it enough.
She's a social squire? Is that the right word? Like, vaguely royal sounding person.
I'm the social jester, mate.
Yeah, there we go. So, social jester, I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
So, Zach, do you want to join us in the signing off?
What do I do?
Do you know what we say at the end of the podcast? Because we don't.
Oh, God.
We get this wrong every time.
We do.
The funny thing is, it's not one of us getting it wrong like all the time. It's each one of us every other time.
Yeah.
Even though we've done it, 8, 9 times now?
It's normally, thank you for joining us in this conversation, and I hope to join you on the path of publication. And then I've been whoever.
Wrong, you got that wrong.
How have I got it wrong?
Bad man. Bad.
It's thank you for joining us for this conversation. This has been the path to publication.
What did I say?
I can't remember now, but you were wrong.
You got it wrong. I'm going to write it down to make sure I get it right.
That's fine.
Should I do it in one of my character voices?
Oh, please.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Finn, you're more familiar with my characters. Is there anyone you'd want me to do?
I would really like... I've forgotten his name now. Is it Jeff
Is it
Sparkles?
Jake Sparkles.
Jake Sparkles. Can I do Jake Sparkles, please?
Jake Sparkles. Okay, right. Andy, for your context, Jake Sparkles is a dwarf bard who is flamboyantly gayer than Ash. He was inspired by Finn and Ash.
Aww. Trendsetter.
Thank you for joining us in this conversation.
This has been the path to publication.
I've been Andy.
I've been Finn.
I've been Zach, I guess.
And we'll see you again in the next episode.
And wouldn't you know it, there's more outtakes for you to laugh your ass off with. Please enjoy.
Oh, I'll cut this bit out as well. If you want to veto anything out of this podcast later on that you're not comfortable with, we can do that as well. No problem at all.
Can we veto you?
Okay,
Yeah,
bye.
that was
And just
mine.
leaves the call. But yes, so this episode, what are we talking about, Andy?
Mental health and writing.
Okay, what does that mean to you?
Why are you asking me? Put me on the spot.
Nobody cares that NPC 19 is fighting NPC 25. Just get to the point. Oh, hello. Hello.
Yeah, I'm nude. Can you please give me some underwear?
I knew it was going to happen. Didn't I see this, Andy? I knew it was going to... I'm just going to turn the camera off.
Yeah.
They're dying. Don't come by the store.
Oh, bloody hell. It's always Ash.
Just underwear.
I forgot to get them. I've got socks. I forgot to get pants.
Get out of here, slut. I really hope that Ash's naked body was not on camera for anyone to see.
No, it wasn't. You're right.
I am sorry to the both of you that you had to deal with that.
It was only a matter of time before it was going to happen.
I knew it was going to come up into... Get your fucking trousers off.
Why do you have your clothes in that room? Don't you have a bedroom?
Yeah, but all of my clothes are in that room. I did offer him one of the two wardrobes, the big one and the one next to it. And he was like, no, I don't want that one, I want this one.
I have enough clothes for half a wardrobe. He has clothes that fill two.
Well, one of them just has woolly stuff in it. The rest are just my regular clothes.
This podcast is just audio, right?
It's visual as well.
I took advantage of the naked Ash interruption to eat my brownie.
Yeah, good call.
What kind of brownie is it?
Oh, it's a brookie.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a brownie and a cookie.
Before we carry on, quick question, because Finn will know the history of this question. Andy, do you call it a cob or a balm?
Oh, fuck's sake.
Oh, it's a cob.
Ugh.
She's a Leicester girl, so she's going to say cob.
But I did live in Preston for 2 years, and it was a balm cake up there.
Andy, what are you doing? Stop it. Not part of the deal.
It took me about a year to get the hang of that, and then I moved back to Leicester, and then I was like, oh, it's cob again.
Well,
You're Blackpool, aren't you, Zach?
I am. Filthy Blackpool.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know.
We
I
went
hate
there
it.
in August and it was lovely. It was raining a couple of the days I was there, but we can't control the weather.
It was raining in Blackpool. God, what a shock.
I've never known it to rain in Blackpool. Mm-mm.
I am a man who hates sausage rolls but loves this. And I've got this really weird habit of doing X.
You're Elon Musk, but with hot dogs. Not hot dogs.
Yeah.
Sausage rolls. What did I say hot
Sausage
dogs
roll.
for? Oh, I cut that.
No, keep it. You're Elon Musk with hot dogs.
While we were waiting for Finn, because Finn, you said to me and Finn, start the call and I'll join you later. And then you joined the call before Finn did. And I was like, stranger, what do I think? What do I do?
The real twist would have been if Andy joined the call and it was me in Andy's bedroom, and Andy was in my spare bedroom. We just switched houses.
I do not want to be in the same house with naked Ash.
Probably wise.
You know what? I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, probably wise. How long have we been recording? 54 minutes. That's not bad.
Well, do we need to go a bit longer? Do you need more outtakes?
Just keep saying boobs.
All right. There we go. Should I do it in one of my character voices?
Oh, please.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Not Goofy.
Forgot about Goofy.
I was very tempted to do it at the start just to get it out of my system.
Do you know what? I've still not shown Nick that clip.
Yeah.
Because he might get the wrong idea.
I just don't know how to show it. How do I introduce it?
Thank you for joining us in this conversation.
Sorry. I love this character so much, though.
I absolutely love that voice. That was great.
Until I messed it up.
Yeah.
We'll do it again. I forgot what I was going to say. I was just so in awe with Zach's voice. I completely forgot what I was saying.
You want me to say it, and then you can cut out Finn's laughter when he's got the...
Do you know what? If we cut out Finn's laughter out of each podcast episode, we probably end up with only like 20 minutes.
I was going to say 10, so...
Thank you for joining us in this conversation.
And we hope to join... why? Join us on...
One more? Just from Finn?
Join us on the path to publication. Path to publication. Join us on the path to publication. That is the name of the podcast you've been doing for over a year.
If you get it wrong again, I'm going to do a whole Batman actor meltdown. Oh, God for you!
Okay. It's because Zach's put me off.
Alright, I'll go. See ya.
Okay, alright. I won't fuck it up this time.
Yeah, right.
Are you waiting for me?
Yeah, just...
Yeah, because I said my bit, then we cut out your laugh.
Editing Finn's going to love you.
Outtakes. Oh my god,
yeah.
I can already see my editing Finn is like getting steam coming out top of the dead. What's the line? What is the line? I know it's application at the end.
This is in the bathroom.
This has been... Okay, right, okay, we're here. Okay, I'm sorry. It's my fault. It's my fault, listeners, it's my fault.
Yes.